Okay, so just a few days ahead of NFL free agency, it seems like the Philadelphia Eagles are about to go absolutely crazy, as they just seem to reveal some of their major plans to completely shake up and rebuild their defense. As some new reports just came out revealing that the Birds are potentially looking to trade Josh Sweat after his down season in 2023, while they continue to look for trade partners for Haason Reddick, and it seems like the Birds already have a replacement lined up, as reports are suggesting that they're going to aggressively go after this rising star edge rusher in free agency. So how good of a move would this actually be? Plus, another report seemed to leak some more of the Eagles' massive plans as they enter free agency, and it sounds like they're set to make some huge additions when the free agency period officially begins. Meanwhile, Brandon Graham is back for his final season, while Nolan Smith looks set for a bigger role in 2024. So we're going to talk about all that and more news in this video today, and we won't waste any time. Let's get straight into it. Alright, so free agency is just a couple days away, but the draft is also coming up here in about a month and a half, and the Eagles just got some big news regarding that, as they were just awarded 4 compensatory picks due to some of their free agent losses from a year ago. That includes a 3rd round pick at number 97 overall for Javon Hargrave's departure, a 5th rounder at 170 for the loss of Andre Dillard, another 5th rounder at 171 from the Isaac Seumalo loss, and also, finally, a 6th rounder at 210 from the TJ Edwards departure. So that brings the Eagles to a total of 8 draft picks, 3 of those picks being in the top 53. So the Birds and Howie Roseman are going to have a lot of ammo to work with to add talent to the squad, whether they want to stay where they're at or make trades to move up or down in certain spots, or trade picks for players. They're just going to have a lot of overall flexibility to do what they want to do, and that's really exciting. And something else that's really exciting is the legend himself, Brandon Graham, officially agreeing on a deal to stay in Philly for his 15th and final season, as Adam Schefter had the report saying, quote, "Eagles are re-signing Brandon Graham to a 1-year extension, ensuring that the 35-year-old defensive end returns to Philadelphia for a 15th season." Now, we honestly all saw this coming, with multiple reports coming out within the past week saying that the Eagles and BG were working on a 1-year contract and he wouldn't be going anywhere. And I want to give massive credit to Jake Rabati of the Liberty Line, as I'm pretty sure he was on this first, so again, huge shout out to him. But again, now, as of today, BG is officially back for his final season on a contract that Rabati is reporting is worth around $4 million. Now, BG also got the chance to talk to NFL insider Josina Anderson after signing the contract, and he explained why he decided to come back, saying, quote, "I did it because I always wanted to get to 15. I'm happy that the team wanted me 1 more year. It's important to me because Ray Lewis was one of the guys that I looked up to as a player. To see him do it the way he did, staying with one team for 17 seasons, was nice, but I'm done after this." And then he also later explained why he thinks things are going to be different next season as opposed to this past season, of course, with the whole collapse at the end of the year, saying, quote, "Because I know Howie. I trust him. We got the players. It's just about making sure we got the whole collective. I'm excited. I know when we have a bad season, Howie always does a good job of coming back." And then, plus on top of that, BG also told Fly Sports, quote, "I'm just trying to make sure that Philly knows I'm going to ride with them till the end." And I know that that's mutual. Philly's going to ride with BG till the end too. And I'm personally really excited for him to be back. I mean, I do think that this was a good move. He's definitely one of my favorite Eagles ever, and he's still capable of producing at times, and he's also a great leader. So again, it's just great to get him back, and drop a like down below for his return. But now, speaking of Eagles edge rushers, we obviously all know about the Haason Reddick situation and how the Eagles have been allowing him to test the market, as Reddick is seeking an extension as he's going into the last year of his deal. Now again, I do want to clarify that a return is still definitely possible, as both sides would probably prefer that Reddick remains an Eagle. It's just about the money and whether or not they can agree on an extension. But now, in addition to the whole situation with Reddick, another Eagles pass rusher finds himself in a very similar situation, and that's Josh Sweat, as he's going into the final year of his contract just like Reddick, and the Eagles need to make a decision on whether to extend him, let him play out his final year, or to move on from him. And it seems like all that is on the table at this moment, with a new report coming out from Tom Pelissero saying, quote, "The Eagles are having trade calls on defensive end Josh Sweat, sources tell me, and Rap Sheet. Sweat has 35 career sacks and is still only 26 years old. Philly is starting over with a new defensive staff, and Sweat could be on the move." Now, I'll admit that that did catch me by surprise when I initially saw it, but now just thinking about it, that does actually make some sense. I mean, Sweat is coming off his worst season since 2020, and he just completely fell off in the second half of the year. Plus, he's probably going to command a huge amount of money on his next contract, and if the Eagles aren't willing to pay him that, then maybe it's a smart move to look and see what you can get in a trade for him. But at the same time, Sweat is also a homegrown, really talented player that has a really impressive body of work, and he's still young at 26 years old, so it's just hard to get rid of a guy like that in my opinion. But at the end of the day, the Eagles don't have an infinite amount of money, and they can't sign everybody to huge extensions, so maybe they have to make some of these tough decisions on guys like Sweat and also Haason Reddick, as it's seeming more and more likely that they're going to lose at least one of these guys. Now, as for the odds of losing both, Jake Rabati tweeted out, quote, "The Eagles shopping Josh Sweat has little to do with what's going on with Haason Reddick. It's my understanding that both being moved is still very possible." So that's definitely really interesting because, I mean, Reddick and Sweat have been the dynamic edge rushing duo for the Eagles these past few seasons, except for, of course, their fall off at the end of last season. So losing both would seemingly really hurt the defense a lot, unless, of course, they have a great plan to replace their production, and it seems like they actually might, as along with these recent reports, there have also been a ton of reports linking the Eagles to Jets free agent edge rusher Bryce Huff, with one of these reports being from Diana Rossini reporting on the Sweat and Reddick news, and then saying, quote, "Look for Philadelphia to aggressively pursue Bryce Huff in free agency." And I gotta say, if this is the Eagles' plan to replace one of those two edge rushers, then I love it, because Huff is an absolute monster. He's coming off a career season where he just had 10 sacks for the Jets defense, and he's really gotten better each year he's been in the league. He started out as a third down rusher, but he has transitioned into being a guy that's out there on all down and distances, and the past 2 years, he's been particularly impressive in the roles that he's been given, as in 2022, he was first in pass rush win rate and second in pass rush productivity, and in 2023, he was third in pass rush win rate and second in pass rush productivity in a much bigger role. And on top of that, Huff's 67 pressures in 334 pass rushing snaps gives him a 20% pressure rate, which is higher than guys like Myles Garrett, who sits at 17%, and our own Haason Reddick, who sits at 11.5%. Plus, on top of that, Huff is just 25 years old. He's worked extremely hard to get here, as he went undrafted back in 2020, and he's become one of the best pass rushers in the league, and he's only going to get better. So I really think that Huff would be an incredible addition to the Eagles defense and a great replacement for one of the two of Reddick or Sweat, and like the reports have suggested, he's going to be one of their top targets in free agency. I mean, with the way people are talking about it, it sounds like Huff to Philly is extremely likely to become a reality, and a deal could potentially look something like around 3 years, $50 million, and I think Huff would probably end up outplaying that in a couple seasons, very similarly to Haason Reddick. So all this sounds amazing, honestly. The only problem is if you lose both Reddick and Sweat, then Huff only replaces one of those two guys, and you still have a massive hole at defensive end or edge rusher. But it seems like the Eagles' solution to that problem could be internal, as James Palmer quote tweeted an Ian Rappaport tweet talking about the Sweat and Reddick news and said, quote, "The Eagles feel good about the trajectory of Nolan Smith's development. Smith had a maintenance procedure on his shoulder this offseason, preparing him for a bigger workload in year 2. Now, this falls in line perfectly with what Howie Roseman said at the NFL Combine about playing younger players, and specifically how the Eagles feel about Nolan Smith.
So I think that for us to play our young players, to develop them, I think that's something that Coach and I have talked about, to not be afraid of. That's why you draft them. That's why you sign them. And so you have that, and you'll have a depth chart where they'll be a little bit uncomfortable about, you know, this guy necessarily hasn't shown it, but we believe in this player. And so I think that that'll be an area for us to kind of maybe grow on, and I don't want to say improve because we had good players at those positions, but you know, that's exciting, I think, in a lot of ways. I think that goes back to the point about some younger players, and kind of in retrospect, just seeing, you know, him certainly in the playoff game, one of the guys who played well in the playoff game, maybe giving him a little bit more time during the year and experience. We talked about that. He's got all the right tools in his body. He's got the right mentality. And at the same time, he's got to go out and show it.
So it really does seem like the Eagles have a lot of confidence in Nolan, and if the Birds end up losing both Sweat and Reddick and they sign Bryce Huff, maybe they feel comfortable enough with Nolan Smith to potentially even start off the edge opposite Huff. But now, how do I feel about that possibility? I'm not going to lie, I don't feel great about it. I mean, I really like Nolan, and I think he's going to become a really good player. I just don't know if he's ready to become that next year. I mean, don't get me wrong, I definitely want him to have a much bigger role this next season, just maybe not starting quite yet. Like I say, give him one more year, and then if the opportunity is there, then let him take that next step. I just feel like relying on him that much as soon as next year is a massive risk, and if it pays off, then great, but if it doesn't, then you have a huge hole on your defense. So as far as the whole Reddick and Sweat situation goes, I think you absolutely need to find a way to keep at least one of them around. Reddick's the better player, but Sweat would probably be cheaper, and he's also younger, so we'll see how this plays out. Hopefully they don't lose both of them, because that would be a really tough situation. But give me your thoughts down in the comments. How should the Eagles handle this whole situation with Haason Reddick, Josh Sweat, and also Bryce Huff? Now moving on from that, it seems like in addition to Huff, the Eagles are really seriously targeting some of the other top free agents from New York. We obviously talked about the Saquon Barkley possibility a couple days ago. I talked about the reports saying that there was mutual interest between Barkley and the Eagles, meaning that Barkley may actually want to go to Philly, and now the betting odds have shifted on where Barkley lands, as the Eagles have actually become the betting favorite to land Saquon in free agency. So it looks like it's becoming a more and more realistic possibility that Saquon winds up as a Philadelphia Eagle. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I think I'd be pretty happy just assuming it's not a crazy overpay and it doesn't eat up too much cap space. As when healthy, Saquon is clearly one of the best backs in the NFL. I mean, he's top 3 for sure. His vision is just unreal. His physical tools are insane. I mean, this is a guy that can run right past you or also run right through you. And on top of that, he can also catch passes out of the backfield. And if you put him on this Eagles offense with all these weapons and especially that great offensive line, that's clearly a recipe for success. The only question is, can he just stay healthy? Because that's been a question his entire career. And that's probably the main reason why I would still really like to see the Eagles bring back DeAndre Swift on a 2 to 3 year deal, because I trust him staying healthy more than I trust Saquon staying healthy. And Swift proved this year that he can be a difference maker for the Eagles offense. So again, I definitely like to see him back, but if they get Barkley, again, I mean, you're not going to see me complaining. I will honestly come on here and celebrate. But the true test lies when the season begins, and he just has to stay healthy at that point. Now, someone else who I'd also celebrate the Eagles signing is Xavier McKinney. I mean, he makes a ton of sense for the Eagles. There's been reports saying that they're going to be aggressive in the safety market, and they're going to try and sign in their prime defensive players to multi-year deals, and McKinney fits that description, being just 24 years old, and he's potentially the best safety out there on the open market. And he's a guy that's going to come in here, become a leader in the secondary, and just produce at a high level, which the Eagles were clearly lacking at the safety position last year. And now there's a new report from Ryan Dunleavy saying, quote, "The agent community expects the Eagles to be big players for the Giants' Xavier McKinney if he's unsigned by Monday." So it sounds like this is also a very realistic possibility, and at this point, it's no secret that I'd love McKinney coming to the Birds, and I'd also be excited about Barkley, and then again, I really like Bryce Huff a lot too. So it really sounds like the Eagles could potentially be preparing to make some big splashes once free agency opens up here, and I seriously cannot wait for it. Now, I'm going to be covering all of Eagles free agency right here on this channel, so if you don't want to miss any of those videos, make sure you subscribe, and also really importantly, turn on notifications so you know right away when one of these videos is uploaded. And also, while you're at it, make sure you drop a like. I'd greatly appreciate it, and leave a comment just regarding anything that I talked about in this video. And if you want to watch another video going over some other Eagles free agency updates, you can check this out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.